Ultra distance bike races are wild. You start with a plan, some gear, and a dream, and then everything goes sideways. In this video, I'm sharing 9 mistakes that I have made while racing ultra distance bike races so that you don't have to make them too. G'day, my name's Tristan. Let's get into it. This is tip number 1. Don't be so stuck in your race plan that you aren't able to adapt to the circumstances. It's important to have a race plan for ultras because that is your blueprint or your guide. How far you want to ride each day and where you'll stop and refuel, for example. But in ultra distance racing, you need to treat your plan like a good suggestion instead of a law. The weather will change, shops might be closed, and most of all, what I learned is that your body feels different to what it feels like in training because you're taking yourself to a place during a race, both physically and mentally, that you can't take yourself to in training. If you cling too tightly to your schedule but then can't stick to it, there is a chance you'll come unraveled. In ultra distance racing, flexibility is a superpower. When I raced Atlas Mountain Race in 2022, I went in with a fixed goal of 4 to 4.5 days, but completely cracked by day 3. After 2 years of building up to the event, I felt like an utter failure for not being able to stick with my plan. Once I surrendered to that failure though, the rest of the race, while still brutal physically, became a lot easier mentally. The best ultra racers out there aren't the ones with the most detailed spreadsheets, they're the ones who can adapt quickly and make good decisions under pressure. So yes, plan your race, that is incredibly important in ultras, but do be willing to toss that plan out the window if the road tells you otherwise. Tip number 2, getting dropped is actually a good thing. If there's one thing I've learned racing ultras, it's that when the flag drops, people will always go out too hard. It's tough on the ego to let them go, and it's easy to think you're already out of contention. But the truth is, getting dropped early is actually a blessing in disguise. It forces you to ride your own pace, to find your rhythm, to save some energy, and to stop relying on someone else's speed to dictate yours. There's a high chance that if you get dropped, you're going to come back past many people in that front pack later on anyway. There's also an emotional freedom in riding alone, which is the reason that I think most of us do ultras. Once you're alone, you can stop comparing yourself in real time and you stop reacting to other people's actions. You start making decisions that serve your race and nobody else's, and all of those things will have a net positive impact on your time. Remember that ultra distance races are rarely won in the first few hours, but they can often be lost there. So let yourself get dropped if you need to, and you will be better off for it. Tip number 3. Bikepacking events aren't about how well you ride, they're about how well you do everything outside of the riding. Okay, so this was probably actually one of the hardest lessons for me to learn. Coming from a road racing background, I thought the strongest legs would always win. But in ultra distance events, the riding is just one part of a much bigger puzzle. Navigation, resupply, sleep management, mental resilience, these are the things that often make or break your race long before fitness does. I've seen incredibly fit riders struggle because they couldn't handle the stress of things going wrong or the sheer distance that they were trying to cover with pure watts. I have also been that person. On the flip side, some of the best racers I've met are okay riders who simply make very few mistakes. They know how to keep moving, they know how to solve problems on the go, and they stay calm. If you want to improve your results, spend as much time honing your off-the-bike systems as you do training. Practice packing and unpacking, knowing where all your gear is, learning to fix things fast, and staying mentally level when things go wrong. Your fitness is just the engine. Everything else though, that is the actual race car. Tip number 4. Don't check the tracker too often. Now this is similar to point number 2 about riding your own race, but the tracker can actually be a double-edged sword. Yes, it's fun to know where others are, and it can give you that little competitive nudge. That's why you're doing an ultra race instead of just going out for a bike ride. But constantly checking it can spiral you into anxiety, comparison, and second guessing while you lose sight of what you're doing. You start racing other people's decisions instead of making the ones that are best for you. In a race that lasts days, that mental distraction adds up, and it can weigh you down more than the actual riding. Check the tracker when you need to, but limit it. Don't let the GPS and the leaderboard hijack your brain. The more present you are in your experience, the better your decision making will be. Tip number 5. Now this sounds simple, but make your most needed items the ones easiest to access. This was the biggest thing I learned during my first ultra. I'd packed up my bike to be what I thought was super neat, super organized. I had bags inside of bags, all categorized and spread throughout the bike. Then I came to the first checkpoint exhausted and had to open every single bag to get what I needed. When you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, tired, wet, cold, and hangry, even small tasks like unzipping a pocket can feel like a major effort, especially if you're trying to save time or stick to a plan. So don't make it harder on yourself like I did. The items you use the most, like food, charging cables, gloves, a rain jacket or lights should be immediately accessible without digging through any of your bags. Small conveniences add up big over time because every micro decision you don't have to stress over saves mental energy. So I recommend practicing setting up your bike for real-world fatigue rather than being neat and tidy. Prioritize ease and speed and think to yourself, what am I going to use 5 times today? And that should never be buried under something that you'll only use once for the whole race. Tip number 6, bring extras of survival items and leave behind anything that is a nice to have. Now, ultra distance bike racing really forces you to make trade-offs. You can't bring everything, but you can bring smart extras of things that could ruin your race if they fail. Examples of this are a second battery pack that could get you through if your first one fails, an extra derailleur hanger that takes up no space and will absolutely save your ass if needed, and backup lights if your race plan is to ride throughout the night. Meanwhile, a fancy camp cup or a third pair of socks are just a nice comfort to have, but they're not actually going to help you out in the long run and are just extra weight to carry. In Atlas, I literally and embarrassingly brought a whole extra spare set of clothes. Why I thought I would need a pair of baggy shorts and a t-shirt is so far beyond me during a bike race where my plan was to ride for as long as possible and sleep as little as possible. They ended up just being extra weight, along with a whole bunch of other mistakes I made during that race, and I just had to carry them the entire way. These days, I pack with one question in mind. If this breaks or goes missing, could I keep racing safely and efficiently? If the answer is no, I bring a spare, and if the answer is yes, or it's just a luxury, that gets left behind. On to tip number 7. Do not skip food stops or sleep to gain an advantage. Now, this is a mistake I've made a bunch of times over, and I'm still learning it with every event I do. It is tempting, especially early in the race, to skip a food stop because you're making good time, or to push through the night chasing a dot ahead of you. But those short-term gains do eventually come at a long-term cost, especially as the race gets longer. Food and sleep are your fuel. You can only run a deficit for so long before your body and your brain are gonna hit back hard. You are not weak for stopping, you are smart. You want to prioritize resupply opportunities and listen to your body when it says it's time to rest. Ultra racing isn't about seeing how long you can suffer for, it's about seeing how well you can manage yourself over a long period of time. Eating and sleeping aren't luxuries, they're strategic moves, and once mastered and coupled with good training and smart packing will make you a far faster rider overall. On to my next tip, and that is to remove yourself emotionally from some moments during the race. There will be moments in every ultra where you're overwhelmed by fatigue, by discomfort, and by how far you still have to go. In those moments, your brain tries to pull you into a spiral, saying, I can't do this, I'm falling apart, and I want to quit. The key here in these moments is learning to detach. You need to say, okay, I'm having a tough moment, this is normal given what I'm out here doing, and while it hurts now, this too will pass. It sounds woo-woo, but it is powerful. Don't take every emotional spike as truth. You can feel awful for an hour and then hit a cafe, eat a sandwich, and feel like a superhero 20 minutes later. The lows are part of the experience, not a signal that you're failing. If you can recognize them for what they are, then they lose their grip on you. And finally, in the words of the late great ultra distance racer Mike Hall, never scratch at night. Many a race has been salvaged on a good night's sleep. There's something about 2 or 3 a.m. that makes everything feel impossible. Sleep deprived, cold, physically wrecked, and maybe hurting, and your brain starts whispering that this is the end. I have been there in every single ultra distance race I've done, sitting on a rock thinking I cannot do this anymore. But what I've learned is this: never ever make a decision at night. Instead, sleep. Get warm, eat something, give yourself permission to reassess in the morning, even if it costs you a bunch of time. Finishing slower than you would have liked is far more impressive than pulling the pin early, and you will 1000% be happier with your result than seeing a DNF next to your name. I reference it a lot, but my experience at the Atlas mountain race is a prime example of that. On day 4, I wanted to be anywhere else but riding my bike through the Moroccan desert. I was so close to stopping and getting on a bus to whatever town I could get home from, but I pushed through, and on reflection, that experience is one of the greatest experiences of my entire life that I wouldn't have had I scratched that night before. So build this rule into your racing code: no scratching at night. You spent so long building up to this event that you owe it to yourself to make big decisions with a rested brain. If you're still ready to quit after the sun comes up and you've had breakfast, fair enough. I hope you've all got something out of this video. If you liked it, please whack a like on it, and if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, it would be awesome to have you along for the journey. Good luck for your next ultra distance bike race, and I'll catch you guys in another one soon. Thanks guys. Adeu.